This video is sponsored by Cygames. Hey familia, Igni here and welcome back to Shadowverse. Today we're going to be talking about the new set of pre-built decks that came out, set number 4, that uses primarily cards from Brigade of the Sky, Chronogenesis, and Dawnbreak Night Edge. Each of these decks comes ready to play right out of the box. The cards you get from the decks are also added to your collection for your own use, if you want to build your own decks with them, and they also come with some exclusive alternate art to boot, and a special emblem and sleeve as well. I'm going to be talking about how good I think each of the decks is right out of the box, how good I think the cards they give you are, and perhaps most importantly, how good the alternate art looks. So let's start with the Forestcraft pre-built deck here, Law of the Forest. It's a very aggressively built deck. I mean, the curve ends at a single 5-drop, and everything else is cheaper than that. So it promotes this playstyle of getting on the board and dealing as much damage to the opponent's leader as possible to try and end the game quickly, and it does that with a lot of good early game drops, some fairy synergies that help you buff your board as well, like Elf Song here, as well as some ambush cards that help you get that sneaky damage in to try and finish your opponent off. This deck also has a few defensive tools, such as the Elf Generals with the Ward, and the Forest Whispers as your removal, and very good card here as well, Metra Peerless Shot, one of the new cards from the Brigade of the Sky expansion, that draws you a card and also can help you remove opponent's threats. And this special edition Sylvan Justice you get can help you out as well by helping you handle the enemy board, as well as giving you more resources to keep pushing forward as well. I think that this deck is actually pretty playable out of the box. It's got a coherent, clear game plan, and most of the cards in the deck help you to support that game plan of trying to defeat your enemy as soon as possible. If you want to go for this playstyle, some of the more defensive cards like Korwa, Forest Whispers, Elf General can go for a few more aggressive tools that help you push more damage as the game goes on. I can definitely see winning a game with this, and the cards that they give you are actually pretty solid on their own, if not in this deck, then in another style of Forestcraft deck. The Rain Elfsmith, the Storied Falconers, the Metra are all pretty key to this style of deck. The Paula Icy Warmth can see play in more combo-y styles. The Insect Lord is one of the best legendaries Forestcraft can have right now, with extremely efficient early game removal. And the Korwa Ravishing Designer you get, while not exactly fitting in this playstyle that the deck seems to be promoting exactly, sees a lot of play in several different combo-style Forestcraft decks as well. So if you're looking to play Forestcraft and you're lacking a lot of the cards, especially the golds and the legendaries that this deck gives you, it's a pretty good investment. And finally, the most important thing, how good is the alternate art? I mean, it's well drawn. For me, in my personal tastes, it's a bit swooshy, you know what I mean? It's all swooshing all over. I don't know how to describe it, but if you're an archer, you wouldn't really want all this swooshing going on, right? That doesn't seem right. Seems like it would throw you off completely. It's also a 2-cost card that deals 2 damage, but there's 3 arrows in here? Come on now. Next up, we have the Swordcraft deck, the Heroes 4. Again, it's a very aggressively built deck, ending at a 6-drop and everything else being cheaper than that, with a lot of aggressive followers here as well. Primarily a lot of ambush that can help you get those sneaky damages in. I think Swordcraft as a class is also really well positioned for this kind of play style. They're very tempo oriented, they're very good at staying on the board and keeping a board advantage and getting that consistent damage into the opponent's face every time, and that's emphasized by these rush followers like Lancer of the Tempest that can also help you clear the board later on, Vols, which is really efficient removal, and Frontline Cavalier as well as an insane tempo swing getting you a bunch of followers on the board at once. I legit think that this deck can get you there. It sneaks up on people, and part of the reason why it does is the quality of the cards they give you, especially the gold and legendaries here. Chromatic Duel is incredibly versatile and gives you a rush tool or a spell immune tool that helps you keep your board in many myriad ways. Innocent Princess Prim is pretty good in these aggressive style decks because it's an early ambush follower that you can evolve to hit their face again. Sky Commander Celia, extremely versatile, one of these choose cards from Dawnbreak Night Edge that has multiple modes. Lancer of the Tempest, an efficient rush follower that can also help you clear boards later on in the game as well. Really important in mid-range style decks in particular. And Dragon Knight's one of the newer cards here, which has, speaking of versatility, all the options in the world for 4 very powerful followers in any way you want to play them. And finally, Zeta Crimson Lancer sees a lot of play in meta decks as well, being a rush follower that gives you a storm follower, so it's basically all you'd want from a Swordcraft card. The alternate art Unbridled Fury you get isn't really seen in a lot of Swordcraft decks, but I have used it to help clear the opponent's boards in my short time playing this deck. So in the same vein as the Forestcraft deck, I think that this is actually a pretty good pickup if you're missing a lot of these key Swordcraft cards. You get a playset of Chromatic Duel, a playset of Lancer of the Tempest, 2 key legendaries, and a Dragon Knight. You can't really go wrong. In terms of the art, though, again, it's quite swooshy, isn't it? I think it's a bit more relevant thematically this time around, because it is Lancelot. He is quite a fast lad. He's got Storm. He's got these spin to win tactics, so he's swooshing around. Makes a little more sense than the Archer Sutura swooshing about. So it gets a thumbs up in that respect, I guess. Going in order here, the next one would be Genius Alchemy, the Runecraft Prebuilt here. Sort of a mix between Spell Boost and Earthright Runecraft decks. And I think Runecraft decks generally are better served if you focus on one or the other. Like, you got the Arulumaya and the Runi Destiny's Bard here, which are spell boost cards, and quite good ones at that. But the Cagliostro and the Silent Laboratories, for example, are Earthright cards. So I don't think that you want to be playing this deck right out of the box as it is, but instead you want to be picking it up for the quality of the cards it gives you, and it's a pretty alright deal. That being said, though, I actually have won a game with this deck right out of the box against a real opponent, though, so, you know, make of that what you will. I think that if you are going to be playing this deck out of the box, though, it'll be a burn-oriented playstyle. Play your spells to draw cards, draw through your deck, managing your opponent's board along the way. The removal cards like the Nova Flare really help with that, and the draw cards like Insight, the alternate art Insight that you get, and the Concentration really helps you get through your deck so you can get to your Chain Lightnings and your Cagliostros to just keep dealing damage to the enemy leader and win that way. But again, I feel like you're mostly going to want to pick up this deck for the cards that you get in it, and you do get some pretty good ones. Grand Summoning is run in a lot of the Earthright decks right now. Cagliostro Adorable Genius is also a really key Earthright card in those playstyles as well, if you're looking to pick that up. Meanwhile, on the other end here, Absolute Zero Blade is very efficient removal for spell boost decks, and Runi's Destiny's Bard is one of the absolute key legendaries for spell boost style Runecraft decks, and Arulumaya can be a pretty good tech in spell boost decks as well. I've seen it played in tournaments. I think if you're new to Rune, it's an okay pickup to either go in one direction or the other, spell boost, Runecraft, or Earthright, Runecraft. You'll have at least the beginning pieces to start building towards either one or both of these archetypes. Talking about the alternate Insight art, though, it's getting a little ridiculous. I don't know how the act of reading a book can possibly be swooshy, but here we are. It's probably some wizard thing that I just don't understand. Dragoncraft. I'm a dragon main myself, so I can tell you right off the bat that Verdict Armageddon is a pretty good pickup. Out of the box, the deck is built and plays like a ramp Dragoncraft deck with a lot of your ramp tools like True Dragon Scathacha, and very importantly, this alternate art Dragon Oracle that you get. You ramp your play points, you get your play points faster than you otherwise would be able to. Then you have really solid top end like Canyon of the Dragons, and the two legendaries you get here as well, Zoe, Arbiter of the Skies, and Azirahaka are massive storm followers that can deal a lot of damage to the opponent. And you finish the game off that way with your giant dragons. I mean, what more could you ask for? And I guess you also have a fish. I'm not really sure why the fishes are in Dragoncraft exactly, but you know, I'm not questioning it. Out of the box, the deck is pretty alright. The only thing I would change is that I would probably add a lot more top end here, because you have all this ramp, and you want to be running a little bit heavier drops on this side of the curve rather than this side. But the cards you get in this deck are really quality. Like Aila Dragonsword, 3 of, key in almost every dragon deck. Roy, either 2 or 3 of in almost every dragon deck. Scathacha, really good gold for ramp dragon style decks. Force of the Dragonute, basically key 2 or 3 of in every dragon deck as well. And the 2 legendaries here, Azirahaka and Zoe Arbiter of the Skies, are also run in basically every dragon deck. So you really get the core of Dragoncraft with this, and with only a few minor changes, you're on your way to something that's actually competitive. Of course, 3 of Dragon Oracle is also run in every dragon deck, so you're getting your mileage out of this exclusive alternate art. And it's not swooshy! It's actually, look at this, how tranquil it is. 20 out of 10, and I'm totally not biased as a dragon main myself. I legit think that this deck is pretty solid. You really can build a great deck out of this foundation. Next up, the Shadowcraft deck here loves Last Knell. Out of the box, this deck plays pretty mid-rangey. You want to get your guys on board, hopefully get them to stick to deal that incremental damage to the enemy's face, and then you finish them off with that Underworld Ruler Aisha at the top end here that deals massive damage with that Necromancy 10, Enhanced 10, and you get there with these cards that are pretty sticky, like the Skeleton Prince, which has the last words that summons the skeleton, as well as summoning a guy on Fanfare that also summons the skeleton. So that'll usually stick for a while. The Fiendish Wraith Knight as well summons itself. And then of course you can use the Undying Resentment to help remove opponent's threats as well, to help you get to that endgame finisher. So the idea really is just to deal the damage as you go along and then finish them off at the top. Pretty straightforward. Unfortunately though, I don't think that this build of the deck is optimal because it has a bit of an identity crisis. Like Fairy Spirit Maiden is really better well suited to Arcus OTK, Everdark Strix and Gloomy Necromancer are really well suited to reanimate style Shadowcraft decks. Meanwhile, the rest of the shell here really suits mid-range style more, so your plays can sometimes be a little awkward if you're just playing it as is. But that being said, the fact that this deck does contain some pretty key pieces from lots of different Shadowcraft archetypes makes it a good jumping off point to start exploring the class as a whole, rather than just using this as a foundation for a deck in itself. The card art, I mean, it's less swooshy than the other ones. I like the fact that the skeletons are having a bit of a dance party here. Like, this guy is having the time of his life, man. Next up, we have Bloodcraft, Dazzling Sword Dance. It's a Vengeance Bloodcraft deck, which focuses on getting you to 10 defense or less, and having cards that proc off of that condition for powerful effects. You get yourself to 10 defense or lower, and dealing a lot of damage to your opponent while you're getting there. The Razory Claw that you get really does help with this, dealing damage to you, but even more damage to the opponent. And then once you get to that 10 defense, you go off with your crazy Vengeance effects on your Dark General, on your Vania Nightshade Vampire, and if you're feeling a little endangered by being at 10 defense or lower, you have these controlling tools like Reach of the Archdemon, which is a really efficient board clear tool, because if you're in Vengeance, you recover 3 play points, making it a 3 play point, deal 3 damage to all followers, which of course is very good. You can also activate Vengeance a lot faster with the new card Narmaya Ephemeral Blade, which you get one of here. When you evolve it, you destroy an enemy follower, and immediately go to 10 defense if Vengeance is not active for you. That lets you get Vengeance off faster, which lets you play these powerful Vengeance cards faster, like Dark General, Storm, and end your opponent sooner as well. But again, I think that this deck, like the Shadowcraft Prebuilt that we just looked at, has this identity crisis thing going on because it's including a lot of cards that don't really fit in the playstyle that most of the cards are trying to promote. For example, Summon Bloodkin, summoning the 2 Forest Bats, and Raven Eventide Vampire, as well as the Buller Blood Maiden, are typically more seen in these aggressive bat synergy Bloodcraft decks, and they don't really fit into Vengeance all that well. But while out of the box, I don't think that this deck is the greatest performer. I think, again, like the Shadowcraft Prebuilt, it does give you a lot of these key tools that help you to branch off and explore Bloodcraft class as a whole, because it gives you a lot of these important cards for different archetypes, rather than just specializing in one. It's one of those decks, again, that you pick up for the tools it gives you, rather than just playing it out of the box. And, you know, the alternate art they give you here with Razory Claw. Razory Claw is probably the most played Bloodcraft card, period, so you're definitely getting your value out of this card in particular. And speaking of the card, it is swooshy as heck. I mean, I don't really know what I expected. It is called Dazzling Blade Dance. I mean, the deck itself is called that. Second to last here, we have the Havencraft Prebuilt Eternal Testament. This is very much a tempo deck. You want to get your followers on board. You want to pop your amulets that give you these really efficient and strongly statted followers, like your Gemstone Carapaces and your God-Scale Banquets. And you can help pop those amulets with this exclusive art Hallowed Dogma that you get. You have the Holy Lion Crystal package, which gives you essentially infinite resources to keep having guys on board. That essentially leads up to a pretty big win condition. You can get the Holy King Lions off by playing enough Holy Lion Crystals, and some controlling tools along the way, like the Star Torrents, which also synergize with your amulets, your White Fang Temples, which keeps you alive and also gives you a really big body at the end of it. And then eventually, the idea is to overrun them with all of your guys. I can see the game plan that this pre-built deck is trying to assemble here, but honestly, like the previous 2 decks that we just looked at, the Shadowcraft and the Bloodcraft deck, this is again one of those decks that you pick up more for the value of the cards it gives you, because it has a lot of these different cards that end up mostly in different archetypes rather than being in the same deck together. So what I mean by that is, you got your White Fang Temples here, which are really good in Tenko Shrine Havencraft decks. You got your Delafill Gem Princess, again, really good in Tenko Havencraft. One of the key cards in that deck, in fact. The Summit Temple here, it's an archetype in and of itself. And then you have the Holy Lion package here, which again is an archetype in and of itself, and I think would be better served in a deck that focuses solely on it. That being said, it is really nice that you get these different tools to explore all the different archetypes. And there are cards in here that are pretty much universal to most Havencraft archetypes, if not all of them. Like Jean Beacon of Salvation is an extremely good legendary card, and you're getting it in this deck. Helps you clear the board, restore defense, good all over the place. Jeweled Priestess, you get a playset of this gold card here. The white diamond drawing you cards, or the black diamond dealing damage and restoring defense to you. Pretty much good everywhere. And the Holy Priest Lyrina with an extremely valuable evolve, getting you that Holy Water or the Iron Fist, which is removal or restoring defense and drawing a card. Good card in general. So pretty good mix of cards that fit specifically in their own little niches and their own archetypes, as well as cards that pretty much are universal to the Havencraft class as a whole. Again, another pre-built deck that you pick up for the cards it gives you rather than the deck it gives you. And the Hallowed Dogma card art, it's a relief, right? It's not swooshy, it's very minimally swooshy. We're coming to the end of the video, and I've just started to realize that instead of talking about what I think about the card art as a whole, I've just been judging it on whether or not it's swooshy. And that's probably not the same measurement of quality that most people use to measure art by, but we're on the last deck here, it's too late. Video's almost over. Let's go, Warriors of Steel, the Portalcraft pre-built deck. And this one is pretty firmly built as an artifact Portalcraft deck here. So the aim of the deck is to fill your deck with high value, high statted artifacts, draw them out with stuff like Miriam Synthetic Being and Fervent Machine Soldier, completely dominate the board, and the dimension cut that you get here can help you survive until you start building up those artifact turns and just manage the enemy board in general. You have the Deus Ex Machina to help you go through your deck and get your artifacts faster as well, one of the key legendaries in this style of deck, and then finish things off at the top end with Saphira Synthetic Beast, which gains attack depending on how many artifacts that you have that died this match. I think this deck is actually pretty okay out of the box, and it's a good foundation for artifact Portalcraft in general. You've got these really key cards in this deck, like the 3 of gold biofabrication that you get here is essential in artifact Portalcraft. Of course, Deus Ex Machina, essential legendary in artifact Portalcraft, and you get that here. Hakrabi, essential gold, you get 3 of for artifact Portalcraft as well. And Saphira, you get 2 of, another pretty essential gold for artifact Portalcraft here. There are some sprinklings of cards that are more well suited to Puppet Portalcraft than artifact, such as the Paracelsus, I think, and the Silva, Ardent Sniper, and the Nicholas. But that's not to say that they can't work in this style of deck. In fact, they very much can. But these are good tools for you to want to jump into Puppet Portalcraft later on as well, instead of just sticking to Artifact Portalcraft here. So I think this deck strikes a really good balance between the two. It's mostly an Artifact Portalcraft deck that you can play as is, but it also gives you some of the tools you need to explore the Portalcraft class if you want to. The Dimension Cut, though, unfortunately, right now is not a card that sees a lot of play in Portalcraft meta decks, although that could definitely change down the line as things rotate out. And because it's a basic card, it'll always be there. But the card art that you get here is absolutely the best of the bunch. Look at this, she is wilding out. Is this a robot drop-kicking a dragon from orbit? Yes, it is. And there you go, that's my overview of the pre-built deck set 4 here. Hopefully it gave you a bit of a better understanding of what you get in each deck, and maybe even help you decide which one you want to spring for. If I had to only pick one of these decks to get, I would absolutely choose Verdict Armageddon, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a Dragoncraft main. I think that there are hardly any cards in this deck that aren't competitive. The deck itself is okay to play out of the box, and it's a good foundation to build upon for Ramp Dragon lists. And, of course, the alternate art is incredible. That's it for this video. Like it if you did, don't if you didn't. Subscribe for more Shadowverse content in the very near future, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.